Hello, hello. Hello, how's everyone doing? Hear me okay? All good? Cool. Think we're good. Sorry guys, give me 2 secs. Safety car, yeah, it's just doing some laps. But yeah, hope everyone's good. Morning Moon, how's the family? All good, Ferrari? Yeah, good, thank you. Practice hasn't started yet, guys. The safety car is just doing some sighting laps, so don't worry, no one's crashed. No. Nothing has happened. But hey Pat, good to see you. South Africa. CGR still can't just accept you made a mistake. You were on the curb, mate. Yes, but we did ascertain pretty much yesterday, Aaron, that the reason that happened and the car reacted the way it did was, yes, it was on the curb, but because they'd lowered the ride height. So they've made setup changes to the car. They stuck the mid-downforce rear wing on from the high downforce wing that they had in FP1. And yeah, because of that, they're trying to extract more performance out of the car. Car runs too low. George has done what he's used to doing, which is running over that curb, and it's just grounded out. So bit of both, really, bit of both. How's fatherhood treating me? Yeah, it's I wouldn't say it's tough. It's just challenging with the lack of sleep, getting used to that. I mean, I was up till 4 AM yesterday. Then I got, well, today, shall we say, then I got 2 hours sleep before she then woke up again. Took another 2 hours to get her back down, and then I slept from 8 till 1 o'clock this afternoon. So, yeah, it's the sleep, the interruption to the sleep schedule that's the toughest part, really. The actual changing and looking after her is easy. It's just, yeah, that interruption to your normal, used to be normal life. This is the new normal for now, until she knows what night and day is, I guess. But now, running a safety car prep for Mazepin's return. He's not. Mexico's been crazy in terms of crashes, and DNF at least 5 drivers is the bare minimum, is it? Well, yeah, I guess it's because of the high altitude we've got here. Highest altitude circuit we go to, around 2,000 meters and more, I think, above sea level. So there's less air density, which means that there's less air to cool down the brakes, the engine, all those parts, and it means there's more stress put on those parts. And of course, it's towards the end of the season where the engines and units and the mechanical parts have already travelled a considerable number of miles. So, is this the longest straight on the calendar? No, the longest straight on the calendar is technically China, I think. Baku isn't a straight. That's a run. That's like the longest run of full throttle. But I think the longest straight is China. So, hey, yeah, Jay, good to see you, mate. What is the pink head padding? I think the pink head padding is like just what they have in the helmets, I think. So, hey, Gav, good to see you, mate. Very well, thank you. I'm very well. Well, McLaren sandbagging yesterday. To be honest, I have no idea. I took yesterday's kind of timings with a whole pinch of salt because of the rookies running, and then of course we had that shocking Pirelli tyre test. So FP3, this is really going to be the true reflection of pace this session. Of course, we then go straight into qualifying in a few hours time after this. So this is really where we're going to get actual running and get a true test or a true indication of where everyone's kind of sitting in pace. So yeah, we'll see. Has Red Bull been able to fix the issues of the engine problems that they had yesterday? It wasn't a good day for them out on circuit, so we'll see. Tune in for the second time, Pro Mabel. I may be doing something right, or maybe I just missed something. Here's to a not dull FP3. glad you're returning, mate. Of course, we still have the commentary, the actual commentary that I go into when we head into qualifying and the race on Sunday. So, any news on Verstappen's Red Bull? Not yet, from what I've seen. No. I think Ferrari are the most complete package at the moment. They seem to be in a good place, definitely. They definitely seem to be in a good place. But I expect McLaren to come back strong. I think McLaren maybe got caught out last week by the sprint race, where they just didn't get their car into a good window in regards to setup after that FP1 session. So they got it in a good place on the Saturday after the sprint race. And look, Lando should have won that race. If he was in clean air, I think he would have had the pace of what Leclerc had. Clean air is king at the moment, and yeah, it's the fact of, obviously, as we've discussed many times, his race start, which is why he didn't win that race. Lewis needs to go gentle with that Mercedes. Yeah, not many parts left. Not many parts left. But if you're just joining us, welcome, welcome. Hope you had a good Saturday. It is approaching 25 minutes past the hour, and on the half-hour mark, we will have the FP3 session get underway. 1 hour of FP3. Will it be interrupted by another red flag? We've had a couple already. Of course, we had Albon and Behrman crash in FP1. There was a brief red flag for a bit of debris that was down the start-finish straight, and then, of course, George Russell yesterday. Qualifying will be 3 a.m. for you, Nova. Oof. Yes, please, if you can, hit the subscribe button. If you haven't, 25 subs to hit 31,000. Let's see if we could do that this stream. That'd be great. Oh, the clocks do go back tonight, Wonk. Yeah. Oh, it's going to throw me even more out. Well, actually, it won't throw me so much out. I mean, I guess I'd kind of get an extra hour's sleep if I can. Evening, Corey. Good to see you. How have the Mercs been doing so far? They seem to be tampering around with their setup. They seem to be flirting with their ride height, the rear wing, and they can't decide whether they want a medium downforce wing or a high downforce wing. Of course, normally here at Mexico, we see very high downforce packages being run, similar to what we get in Monaco, because of the lack of air density, because of that higher altitude. There's less resistance in the air. So thank you for the sub, LT Paradise, which is why we see those big rear wings. So McLaren trying to maybe see if they can gain some additional performance by running a skinnier rear wing, but they got caught out by George Russell yesterday with that lower ride height they were running to try and get more performance out of the car. It backfired because the car bottomed out over the curbs in the S's, and George spun into the barrier. So we'll see. Will we see Bottas in the top 10 in FP3, or we'll be going back to the status quo? Yeah, because we're going to see some quali runs here. Of course, no doubt, we're going to see still some long runs, which is to be expected. But at some point, they'll be sticking the soft tyre on and doing some quali runs in prep for this afternoon. Who's going to win as per me? Oh, I feel like we're going to see a strong performance from Lando this weekend. I think we're going to see a response to last week. I think he's going to do very well here. And I think Charles Leclerc is also going to do well here as well. Is anyone running with penalties for the race on Sunday? Not as far as I'm aware yet. Yeah, no one's taken any new allocation. So, yeah, unless they decide to change parts between now and tomorrow, then, we'll see further penalties. But nothing at the moment. We're on Pirellis at the moment. Only be able to watch 20 minutes because you have to go something to attend. No worries, mate. No worries, Gav. Good to see you, though, regardless. Do I think Lando can still win the championship? He still can. He needs a big point swing. He needs like Max to finish P10 just inside the points, him to win the race, and for Max to DNF. That's what he needs. I just don't see that happening, though. Max has made the least amount of mistakes out of everyone there this year, and that's why he's in the position he currently is. I was more confident before last week than I am now. Let's put it that way. Hey JC, vamos Checo. Yeah, we'll see how he gets on this afternoon. What do I think about George's crash in FP2? As we mentioned, I think maybe a bit of driver... Yes, definitely some driver error because he should have known that the car was running lower. But primarily, it's down to Merc again, I think, in my opinion. I don't know what they're doing in regards to their setup choices at the moment. Like, Dakota was definitely setup choice. They were running a skinnier rear wing than most, and the car went round on itself in both scenarios with George and Lewis, where I don't think either of them could have done anymore there. That's not driver error, because that's it's a simple corner in itself to take. It's a bit more difficult to keep it within track limits because of how fast. You have to scrub off a bit more speed. But in essence, F1 cars should have more than enough downforce to get through that corner without incident, at least on entry anyway. And we saw both George and Lewis, the car started to lose control on entry. And then here we've seen them test the high downforce wing, and we've seen them test the medium downforce. And the medium downforce, well, as we saw, combined with the lower ride height to try and increase performance, it's backfired on them. So I haven't seen the rear wing of George Russell's car yet to see if they've gone back to the high downforce setup or whether they're kind of sticking to that medium downforce. So we'll see. What's the safety car VSC history at this circuit? I don't know, actually, Michaeli. I think it's a bit. I think it's quite high. We've always seen a VSC or a safety car here, to be fair. There's always a high amount of mechanical failures, isn't there? And crashes in the past. Then it might even push too hard and difficulty needs to be careful. Yeah. I mean, we'll see how Max Verstappen gets on today. He is obviously going to be going out there on circuit. I haven't seen anything in regard to if they've fixed that issue in regards to the power unit. Apparently it was a turbo leak, but it really its ugly head again in FP2. So no doubt they've at least had a look into it and think they've fixed it anyway and resolved the problem, because there's been no announcement of him having to take new parts. So Merck is throwing darts. That's a huge combination of changes they tried. Definitely, Drew. Yeah, they're just throwing shit at the wall and hope it sticks, really. And that's the kind of position they're in, aren't they? They don't understand, especially in these high track temperature conditions, they're not going to be in the peak window of operation, are they, for their car? But we've seen them for a couple of times throughout the duration of this season. So yeah, they're just trying something different. But we've seen yesterday Mac's car floor was removed. Yes. They're going to change that to improve car performance. That was actually, so they removed the floor actually to get into the underside of the power unit, Ashback. So that's why they removed the floor. It wasn't necessarily to do with any changes of the floor. It was so that they could gain access to where the issue was with the power unit that Max had. So did Ocon get the same update package as Gasly? I'm not sure. I'm not sure if they've shipped it out for this weekend. Maybe it's for when we head back to the Middle East. Actually, no, is it Vegas after this, isn't it? It's Vegas, Qatar, then we go Vegas, Qatar, then Abu Dhabi. Which makes sense, really, because we're still over in the US, aren't we? Or this side of the Atlantic. So do I think next year's going to be better viewing for F1? Last couple of years, not been the most entertaining. I think so. Yeah, definitely. I think, look, this year, Jordan, let's be honest, like, it's been really good. Like, it started off a little bit like, we think it's going to be samey as green light, pit exit is open, FP3 is underway, guys. I mean, we started this year thinking, oh, here we go, max dominance once again, buckle in, guys. It's going to be a slog. Let's just hope we get to 2025. And how pleasantly surprised we have been. It's just a shame that there isn't really, the championship isn't a bit closer, but then that's also a testament to how kind of up and down, like how unpredictable F1 has been. You would say McLaren's been the most consistent, really, or where they've been fighting for podiums and race wins, but they haven't been able to convert enough, which is why Lando has only found himself winning 3 races this year and Max has got 7. So, and that's the thing that we mentioned yesterday, is that the reason why this championship battle isn't closer, at least in the drivers, is because the spoils have been shared in F1. We've got Charles Leclerc on 3 wins, Lando Norris on 3 wins, Lewis on 2 wins, Oscar Piastri on 2 wins, Sainz on a win. Checo's the only one who hasn't won a race in the top 8 cars, shall we say, out of the top 4 teams. So that is why. So it's looking good heading into next year if this pattern kind of continues of like performance of like switching from kind of track to track, and of course there being a proper development race. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to 25, and regardless of how this season ends, we're still heading into every race not knowing who's going to come out on top. So Merc and Ferrari are favourites here. I don't think Merc are favourites here. I'd be surprised, but you never know which Merc is going to turn up, do you? That's the problem. So, Mercedes is partially responsible for their crash. Yes, exactly. Max has an engine change. Has he? Hang on a second. Surely that's a penalty then if he's made an engine change. Oh, Red Bull have changed Max Verstappen's engine for another in the polls without penalty because they say intake air circuit leakage which could not be thoroughly resolved ahead of the third practice session. So basically, Max Verstappen is running an old engine, which could mean even more of a chance of reliability issues. Ooh, I get why they've done that. That makes sense because you take an engine without penalty. But it's risky because it could mean that they end up not finishing this race this weekend. So we'll see. It's not cheating, Simon. No, it's well within the rules. You can go back and use an old engine. But it just means that engine is, one, going to be down on horsepower. And it's there's potential for more mechanical issues to arise because it's already covered a considerable amount of mileage. So we'll see. They run a practice engine. He's still within his pole. Yeah, he's still within the pole. Yeah. Hey James, good to see you, mate. Good to see you. Really hoping for a good 2025. Enjoy the end of this season. Fingers crossed for next year. Yes, let's hope, Jordan. There's lots of good storylines for next season as well. Lewis Hamilton, lots of new drivers coming in as well. Cam McLaren and Lando Norris still put up a championship fight for next year. Oscar Piastri as well is going to be no doubt fighting for that championship. So we're shaping up for a real good season next year. Hopefully we don't get our hopes too high and then we're completely disappointed because we know how F1 can do that sometimes. Apparently Max's mechs went above the max allowed time to fix the car. They can only do this twice per season. This is their second time. If they do it again, the driver has to start from the pit. Ah, there we go. Well, that's obviously why maybe they couldn't fix it. Yeah, it says they couldn't thoroughly resolve ahead of the third practice session. So that's why they've just chosen to swap out the engine. So we'll see. But we will discuss in a bit, of course, we will discuss, of course, the appeal that was dismissed by the FIA for McLaren and the announcement that the FIA are going to revise, as per drivers' meetings, they are going to be revising the racing rules and then they're going to basically draft them and get them signed off by the drivers. So, yes, a bit of news there, guys, in that regard. Bottas P2. P3 now. P3. Manchester did a decent lap for an old engine. It isn't. I mean, the fastest lap last season was 17.1. They're obviously just getting out there and probably just putting it for its paces at the moment just to see if it's suitable. Not like they follow the rules anyway, exactly. How do you think, Coco? See ya? Do I think Hamilton will be the same in terms of speed and skill, or do I think age has taken some toll on him and won't be as fast as Charles? I do think Lewis will still be as fast as Charles. There's no doubt that age does take a toll. Of course it will do. But I think if you look at the likes of Fernando Alonso, how quick he still is, I think Lewis Hamilton being 4 years younger, I mean, he's going to turn 40 next year, I think. I think you give him, Lewis Hamilton's still I think it more comes down to the mental element rather than the physical element. I think if Lewis Hamilton is motivated, which I think he will be heading to Ferrari, how can you not be motivated for a new challenge like that? I think we'll see a good Lewis Hamilton. No doubt he's not going to beat Leclerc every single time because Leclerc is a talent in himself and a very good driver. But yeah, we are definitely going to see a revitalised Lewis, and if he's given a car to compete for race wins, as we mentioned yesterday, I think you'll see a Lewis Hamilton that can easily win races. Why do they keep calling George back into the pits every lap? I don't know. Maybe they're trying something as well. Remember, they had to turn on put on like old spec parts or whatever spare parts on the car. He's using a spare chassis this weekend. So if there's another crash from George Russell or from Lewis Hamilton, that neither of them will be able to, I think, participate in the remainder of this weekend. So No, FP3's just started, Gordon. Good to see you, mate. Perez retirement announcement this weekend. I'm not sure if we'll see it this weekend, Guy, but I would assume if Perez doesn't get the Red Bull seat for next year, it wouldn't surprise me if we see him announce his retirement, because there's no place for him on the grid next year, is there? So, Lewis 8th World Drivers' Championship next year. Look, I'm not going to say he will. He needs a car. Most of these drivers just need to ensure they've got the car. I think you could be guaranteed, though, that if Lewis does have the car, he'll definitely be fighting for a championship. So that's exciting in itself. How old am I, Moon? How old do you think I am? I'm due a shave. I am due a shave, so I know I maybe look a little bit older than I do. If I shave this all off, I probably can take 5 years off myself. Yeah, we'll talk about the McLaren appeal in just a second. How's everyone doing? Yeah, all good, Jake. Good to see you. We've retired Perez at least 4 times this year. Oh, look at all the guesses coming in. 21, James. 50, 35, 31, 28, 31, 28. You reckon 27? 28 on a good day. 26, 32 tops. Thank you, guys. Thank you. I like you all. Some of you coming in with 34. You're close. I'm 33. Reese, 60. It's all that water I drink. Yeah, I'm 33 years old. I need a shave. I can take a few years off myself if I shave, which I'm due one. So I think I look my age. Maybe a couple of years younger. I like to think. I could keep myself in quite relatively goodish shape. So yes, yesterday I was born in 91. Yeah, I'm a 91 baby, so I'm just a 90s baby. 6. Hey, 4K. But yes, right. Shall we talk a little bit then about the McLaren appeal? So McLaren appeal, it got dismissed. Surprise, surprise. So basically, with the stewards, and I'm thinking of doing a video on this, to be fair, about how I do think the whole appeals process and the stewarding process is a bit flawed at the moment. So basically, to appeal a steward's ruling, you have to bring forward brand new evidence that wasn't available to the stewards that could influence their decision. So it's very, very rare, and there are previous instances where there have been appeals in this regard, and some of them have been upheld and some of them have been dismissed, revised, and some of them have been dismissed. But in most instances, this whole rule of bringing something brand new to ensure that you can overturn a steward's result is a whole deflection tactic by the FIA to ensure that their ruling in that moment in time is final. So McLaren, cheekily, really, it was quite a cheeky appeal, because we all thought, well, what's this brand new evidence that they've brought that wasn't available at the time? The only thing that was really not available at the time was the onboard, the front-facing image of Verstappen's car. At the time, we only had the rear-facing camera, but there were overhead shots that could ascertain really the trajectory of Max's car and the position of Lando and Max's car at the apex and beforehand. So basically, McLaren stated that they had the brand new evidence that was available was the steward's document in itself, explaining their reasoning behind their decision to penalise Lando Norris, which is, I guess, technically it is a brand new document, but you can't really use that document as something that the steward didn't have available at the time, because that's something they've put out there afterwards, you know what I mean? But they basically just stated, look, what they said was incorrect, because Lando Norris, they stated that Max was the defending car. Well, Max initially was the defending car, however Lando under braking did get ahead, and then Max then became by default the attacking car, and he therefore should have been given a 5-second time penalty for forcing another driver off the track. like we saw George Russell get a penalty for Oscar Piastri. So while that technically is true, because it wasn't brand new evidence as per the appeal guidelines or process, they basically stood by their original decision. But I think what McLaren have done is McLaren probably wanted to keep the discussion ongoing, and look at it now. They're now going to be revising the racing guidelines to ensure that something like this doesn't happen again, basically. So yeah, it's a bit flawed. It's a bit flawed in my opinion, because I think they ultimately... So the decision... That whole decision, while Lando Norris, I think, is correctly been given a penalty for an off-track and gaining an advantage off the circuit, I don't have any issue with that. What I do have an issue with is the fact that Lando was off-track initially, as per the steward's ruling and assessment, because of Max forcing another car off the circuit, and he ran off like track limits himself. So that means he was out of control of his car. And in the racing guidelines, it does state that the defensive car has to stay with, and both the attacking car, they have to stay within track limits. And they acknowledged that, yet they didn't give a penalty to Max at the same time. So really, both of them should have been given penalties in that scenario. And because technically the racing guidelines aren't brand new pieces of information that the stewards wouldn't have available to them, you can't present that as an argument, as an appeal. So it's the way it's all, you have to have brand new evidence, even if the stewards have disregarded the rules, because it's not new, and because the regulations and guidelines have kind of always been there and they have access to them. If they choose not to interpret those guidelines correctly, you don't have grounds for an appeal, which doesn't sit right with me. So that's basically it. That's where we are with it. But yeah, hope everyone understands and hope everyone's enjoying the stream. Welcome. Over 1,100 of you here in the stream right now. Over 116 likes already. Much appreciated. Oh, we're nearly at 31,000 subs. Thank you, guys. Thank you. Funny how in Brazil 2021, we didn't have the front-facing camera. Yeah. McLaren's hope was that Lando goes so fast he takes more than 5 seconds to win the free place, but he didn't. Yeah, that's probably what they expected. I think they also expected as well that because he was ahead at the apex, not headed at the apex, because he was ahead into the braking zone, and he was sufficiently ahead. If you look at it, like his rear wheels are alongside or just slightly ahead of Max's rear front wing, but the problem is that an overtake isn't completed until you've gone beyond the corner. That's the problem. But this is the thing: racing is fluid. Because on the relative at the time, as the two Mercedes go to the top of the timing sheets, if you look at it at the time, the relative showed that Lando Norris actually got ahead of Max Verstappen. But then they state that the overtake isn't completed until you get beyond the apex, and then that's obviously where they've measured it all from. So, but anyway, let's have a look at some times, because it seems like they're not wasting any time, the teams out here, and they're actually getting out there and doing some fast laps. So 17.8 from Carlos Sainz there. Bearing in mind, guys, a 17.1 was pole position for last year. So we're still quite some way off the fastest lap that we're going to see, no doubt, in qualifying later on. And these teams are still running a bit of a high fuel load, no doubt. Maybe saving a bit on the battery and maybe engine modes. Of course, this circuit, as we've already mentioned, does put a lot more stress on the power units because of the lack of air density that we have here with that high altitude. So, yeah. Sainz and Leclerc looking very good. Ferrari once again, 17.825, 17.889 by Leclerc. Hamilton and Russell are just happy they're not in the barriers. Max Verstappen in P5, no doubt, saving engine mode. So we'll see how the McLarens get on. Let's see if the McLarens show their hand. Sergio Perez, interestingly, isn't out there yet. So we'll see how he gets on. But yeah, let's see how the McLarens get on. Hey Scarlett, just wondering when they were doing the practice, did they broadcast it live or not? I mean, so we can see it on TV. Not here, we don't. They do, of course, there is broadcasts, TV broadcasts available out there for you. But yeah, we can't do that here due to copyright reasons. Well, my predictions for qualifying. Ooh. Thank you for the sub, David, and thank you for everyone else who's been subbing in the meantime. What are my predictions for qualifying? I'm going to go Norris pole, but I'm going to go for a McLaren 1-2. And I'm going to go for a Ferrari... I'm going to go for McLaren 1-2 and a Ferrari second row. And we do know that pole position isn't the be-all and end-all here because of overtakes that can happen down that long run down into turn 1. So... yeah, I've got a feeling this might be damage limitation race for Max Verstappen with that power unit change. They may even have to sacrifice the engine mode, maybe, on the duration of this race. So he is going to be down on power, reverting back to that old engine. So yeah, we'll see. I mean, Max is just going to want to ensure that he finishes this race. Of course, all he cares about is the championship. If he can damage limitation and ensure that there's not a big point swing between him and Lando, he'll be happy. Max pole, of course. I mean, never write it out. But I think with that power unit change to an old spec, an old unit, I think, yeah, it's going to be a tall order for him to be up front this time around. The overtaking outside car needs more leeway. If you're more than halfway alongside at the apex, you have a decent shot at making... yeah, I mean, look, they're going to be revising the racing rules, the racing guidelines, hopefully to accommodate that. So we'll see. Every other racing series has no issue with fair racing leaving racing room and having none of this shoving off at the apex. So don't know why F1 has to make it so difficult. Connor, if he thinks he can take Max on the outside, then that's his problem. Yeah, I do agree with that. No, I do agree with that. Lando was naive in the fact that he could overtake Max around the outside. He should have known after the first couple of times of trying that the extra grip that he had in his tyres wasn't enough to do a cutback. Okay, I respect Lando for trying to do that because you've got the tyre advantage. You try and do that. Totally get it. However, after the first couple of times of trying, he should have just gone, right, I really need to try and just dummy Max here or just try and send it down the inside, whether it be down into turn 12 or down into turn 15. Use that own rule that Max used to his advantage to your advantage, and that's just where kind of a lack of experience racing Max wheel to wheel came in for Lando. So hey, 31,000 subs, thank you guys, much appreciated, much appreciated. Lando's on his second lap now, so he's fastest in the second sector, so we'll see how he gets on here. So that is, he's third fastest in the first sector, first fastest in the second. Let's see him go around the last corner here, and no doubt this will be the fastest lap. Oh no, P3, 0.77. Wow. Thank you for the subs, guys, much appreciated. Very close there, very close. But we're still 7 tenths off of P1. Or the fastest lap we saw last year. I mean, Kevin Magnussen just went fastest, bearing in mind, on the medium compound tyre in the first sector. That's now just been taken away by Carlos Sainz. So these drivers aren't pushing just yet. They're not pushing just yet. They're not using their full engine modes. They'll save that for qualifying. There's no point being P1 in FP3 at the end of the day. Can't believe we have a 3-week break after Brazil. No, we don't have a 3-week break after Brazil, do we? No, it's a 1-week break, and then we go to another triple header to end the season. I mean, it's November next week, so we don't have very long. You got 123 subscribers. Nice. Got to start somewhere. Just discovered me. Oh, thank you, Racing. Qualifying starts in a few hours' time. So qualifying will start. Let me check for you. I always get a bit thrown off by it. Every session's an hour earlier than it was yesterday. So that means qualifying is on at 10 o'clock UK time, which means just over 3 hours from now. Morley, thank you for the sub. Much appreciated. Decent last Max Verstappen, full Piastri, and then the Mercs. So, see there, was that a fastest? No. Oh, looks like that Sainz had to back out the last sector. There. He was going to go even faster at the top. But Perez is out. Whee, Perez is out. For you Mexican fans racing at his home circuit, we'll see if he can set a decent time here. As Max Verstappen's just doing some long runs here on the soft compound tyre on a old engine that he's had to change to after those issues that he had. Oscar Piastri is in the pits now, so I think we've seen... I think maybe we might have seen the quali runs already. Your sub be back for quali. Nice one, man. Is this my full-time job, Fern? No, unfortunately not. No, I'd love it to be, but not yet. We're some way away for this paying the bills. It brings in a nice little amount of pocket money, the content that I do, sim racing and the watch-alongs and so forth, and the opinionated content. But yeah, we're a little way away yet. But hopefully one day. Every subscriber brings me closer to... Oh! Who spun there? One of the V-carbs spun. Liam Lawson spun in the middle of the stadium. Oh, not ideal there. Not ideal. Thank you for all the subs coming in. Yes, yeah, basically every single sub brings me closer to making this a full-time career. I don't think McLaren will get front row lockout. You don't think so, Binoch? I think it's going to be close. We'll see. I think we're just going to see I just think we're going to see a decent response from them. I mean, no one's showing their full hand yet. As I mentioned, 17.1 was pole position last year, and on average this season, we've seen these cars be a second quicker. So we've sometimes seen them go a second quicker. We've seen them go in FP3 quicker than the previous year's pole position lap time. But I don't think we're going to see that maybe this time around due to due to the fact of they've probably got the engine modes turned down. So, but Lewis, interestingly, is back out on another brand new set of softs. Okay, go on, Lewis. Let's get you to 1 million subs. Me first. Thanks, Peter. You'll be shocked if Ferrari ain't on pole today. Yeah, do look good. I mean, Lewis is getting a nice tow from Charles Leclerc down into turn 1, so we'll see if he is no doubt going to have got a boost there from that. So has he gone fastest in the first sector due to that tow, or has he had to back out? Of course, he will be getting dirty air from Charles Leclerc, but he's on a brand new set. And he actually went slow. So Lewis actually backed out down into turn 1, or maybe he locked up, I don't know. But he backed out. Yeah, Ferrari do look strong. I think they'll be at least in the top 4. I think it's look, every single qualifying, if you think about it, it's been very close. We're talking hundredths of a second now, separating like pole position to second. Sometimes even less than a tenth separating the top 3. And I think we're going to see a repeat of that again here today. The bright green tractor isn't last. Well, technically it is. Show Guan Yu. Thanks, Amir. Another bottled Lando pole was just unbearable. Yeah, you do kind of think at the time. Thank you for all the subs coming in, by the way, guys. Much appreciated. If there's any more, I'll have to turn the sound alert off. Yeah, I mean, you almost think that really pole position here is probably one of the worst places to start because you've got such a long run down into turn 1. We've seen drivers from P3 swoop around the outside into the lead. So, yeah, we'll see. But yeah, I feel like almost Lando starting on the second row isn't bad for him. You want to be in the top 3, don't you? A second or third place is probably a good place to start. Do you remember Sochi? Sochi is very similar like that. Pole position is probably the worst place to start because you give everyone such a tow behind you. I think you could maybe see a repeat of what we saw with George Russell in Barcelona. So, yeah. That's pretty much where all the intrigue is, isn't it? It's down into turn 1 on Sunday. Because the race itself can... There's no safety car especially, which I don't think we got one last year. The race can become very boring. Ferrari moving up in the constructors. Yeah, so Ferrari are actually... If McLaren don't get their act together, Ferrari could very well sneak this Constructors' Championship. I think they're 55 points behind McLaren at the moment. They're like 4 or 5 points behind Red Bull. I think them getting P2 in the Constructors is probably a slam dunk at the moment. But could they sneak the Constructors at the end? And that would be a horror show for McLaren when you think about it, considering they've mainly prioritised the Constructors for the majority of this season. They didn't really think that Lando could win the drivers, which is why they didn't really imply rules on the drivers or team orders, shall we say. As the lap times are starting to get quicker, actually, by the way, as the track evolution seems to be becoming a thing, and maybe a bit of the fuel load is starting to burn off of these cars. Carlos Sainz is 17.44 there, only 3 tenths off of pole position time last year. Lewis Hamilton on that brand new set. Oh no, he wasn't on a brand new set. Apologies, he's still on the used tyres. A bit of an issue there with the tyre allocation, but. Yeah, imagine that would be a horror show for McLaren if they don't win the Constructors in the end, and they've also bottled the chance of Norris really winning the drivers. To come away with none of them is shocking, absolutely shocking if they do that. McLaren will always be better in qualifying, whatever be practice results, so I'm looking forward, yeah. Hang on. As Hulkenberg reporting the brakes don't look good. So yeah, lots of teams, lots of drivers complaining about certain elements within their car. Of course, we're at the tail end of the season now. Only 4 race weekends remaining after this one. And, well, the parts have taken quite a battering, haven't they, to this point. If that happens to McLaren, they deserve it. It does, yeah, I mean, they have only themselves to blame, really, if it happens. They have no one else to blame, so. Signs looking good. Yeah, the Ferraris do look good. They seem confident, don't they? They went well here last year. Do you remember a few years ago they were really off the pace? Their engines, I think their turbo units just weren't strong enough or big enough to cope with the lack of air that would run through the cars. So they just couldn't support the horsepower. They were massively down on horsepower because of that. And then they sorted that out for the next year. I think that was last year. I think 2022 was when they were really off the pace. And then last year they fixed that and they were in the chance. They were obviously much more better. But I think Red Bull really outdid everyone on strategy last year because everyone expected it to be a 2-stop, and Red Bull noticed that the tyres just weren't degrading, and they did that 1-stop, and they kind of like snuck into that P1 position. It was probably one of the races where, while Max was very good on his tyre deck, Mercedes could have done better and maybe won that race. Back to hibernation after F1 finishes? No. I'll still keep the content coming for you guys. F1 never stops. You know that. F1 never stops. I'll keep you updated with some news, some opinions and so forth. And of course, my own sim racing exploits as well. Because new tyres are faster and normal road car tyres, yeah. Smaller turbos, but they spool up faster, which reduces turbo lag. Yeah, and then they just couldn't... They had issues with the airflow as well, I think. So with the reduced amount of air that we have here at Mexico, they had overheating issues and they just really had to turn the engines down. So will I ever do Formula E content? Probably not. No, a Formula E just doesn't really entice me. Yeah, doesn't really entice me. I should update the sub goal. I should actually, shouldn't I? Thank you guys. Thank you for pointing that out to me. Let's do that. 32. Will Max start from the pit lane? No, Max will not start from the pit lane. So he has changed his engine, but he's changed to an older engine, which is part of the allocation. You're just not able to take a new engine. So, yeah, what that means for Max is that he will no doubt be down on power because that is an older engine. It's already done a lot of mileage already. And it also means that there's a higher risk of a breakdown and issues with an engine that has already done a lot of miles. So just think of it as your road car. A car that's done 100,000 miles is more likely to break down than a car that's done 10,000 miles. So that's the same in F1. You're really hoping this won't be the last season you'll be able to watch? Oh, why would that be, Snow? That's fair. The last season of F3 was amazing. The last 2 races were shock and awe. Yeah, we do have the... big thank you for the subs coming in, by the way, guys. There's so many that I'm actually going to just have to mute the alerts sound. You'll still get the message come up. So big thank you. Do I show radio messages? Not really, Lotus, because those radio messages are so quick. And the AI still isn't quite that great, really, in regards to the radio messages. But I think it's a bit... I don't like showing that yet, really. I think it kind of... You can always have... There is a point where you can just have too much clutter on your screen and everything can be a bit too messy. So I just kind of want to focus on the data that we have here, my own commentary as well that I provide you guys, and the track map. So if in the future it gets better and it's a bit more relevant, then maybe. So Perez wants to look good here. Yeah, P5 for him. So Snow, really sad to hear that. I'm sending you my love. Positive thought. I know it's easy to say because I'm on the other end here, but positive thoughts. Think of F1 as a positive in your life, and if you have an aim to see that, then hopefully you'll be able to, and it'll get you through. Oh, hang on. Hello. Am I back? Am I back? We're back. We're back. Cool. Cool. Yeah. Try and stay. It's easier said than done, of course. But you're part of a great community here. You're part of a great community here. F1 is amazing. Think about Lewis Hamilton in that Ferrari overall suit next year. That's enough for it to. That's enough for you to go back into remission. Thank you, guys. Yeah, thank you. Order restored. But should we have a look at some lap times then? So we've seen some quali laps. So we've seen... it looks like the teams at the lower end of the standings, as we expect, are focusing more on their long runs than they are on quali. Aston Martins are just slow, as to be expected. Albon in P15 at the moment. Of course, Albon back out there after his crash yesterday. Didn't make it into FP2. So lots of pressure on Albon at the moment. Of course, Colapinto getting a lot of the headlines for the right reasons. So really needs a strong performance, especially after yesterday, Albon. He's putting a lot of blame on Ollie Bearman, which I find a bit interesting. Obviously, to try and deflect away from his mistake, which I think it was his mistake when you look back at it. Yes, Bearman... it's not the ideal place for him to be, but ultimately he is off the racing line, and sometimes you do catch people in the S's. And Albon made the error and lost control of that car. So exactly, Snow, exactly. I have another question. Thoughts on Zane Maloney going to Formula E? That was a bit of a surprise. I think that's a disappointment, to be honest with you, Primeval. Zane Maloney seems... I've been very impressed by him in F2 from what I've seen this year, and I think... he's a type of driver that should be promoted into that second Sauber seat. It's a perfect opportunity for him to step up and potentially prove his worth at maybe a seat when Audi take over in 2026 and that team becomes Audi. I mean, him going to Formula E, I mean, I'd be so disappointed if Sauber get rid of Bottas and Zhou and they bring in someone who's outside of their driver academy. I think that's just such a slap in the face to everyone who's in that system. What is the point of it being there? What is the point of that, of having a driver academy and having that system if you're not going to bring youth, especially when that youth is proving themselves in an F2 championship? So you've got to sit there as Zane Maloney and think, what more have I got to do? I'm fighting for a championship in his second year in F2? His second year? Like, what more does a guy have to do to be able to warrant a chance? So, I'd be very disappointed. The worst bit is Zane going to a bloody load. I don't know what that is. As I said, I'm not too up to date with Formula E. I think everyone is more political now compared to back in the day, especially these regulations. Oh, Arian. F1 is... oh my God, what happened there? One of the Ferrari mechanics just fell over and did a backwards roll. What do you do there? F1 is always been super political. I feel like now, actually, this season is probably the least political it's been, because last season was the least amount. I was very surprised that there were no kind of appeals. The last couple of years have actually been pretty tame really, when you look at the political nature of F1, because Red Bull have been so dominant, and the teams didn't really know why Red Bull was so dominant, and they didn't know what parts they could basically appeal. This season, Zach Brown, thankfully, has provided us a bit of intrigue off the race circuit. He's trying to play that political game off the circuit, which you do need people to do in your teams. But F1 has been, the 90s and the mid 2000s were, massively political. Massively. Not gonna lie, Colapinto has been absolutely crazy so far. Yeah, he's proven that these F2 drivers, the youngsters, the young guns are good enough, and they deserve an opportunity. And hopefully, we're now seeing that. Not a trend, but hopefully, we're now seeing that where the teams are now looking at their own system and their own academies and going, actually, we do have drivers that deserve an opportunity, rather than going for basically the what's the right word, basically, the top teams, their drivers like Bottas, like Perez, basically just taking the second go. What's the right word? I'm trying to think of the right saying. I do apologise here, basically. When someone goes and then another team picks them up? Not second driver. I can't remember what the term. There's a metaphor I'm trying to explain, but I'm terrible with metaphors. Basically, they're not good enough for the top team, so they decide to take the second driver from the top team. No, think about bringing through your own driver that you can use yourself. The scraps. Sloppy seconds. That's it. Sloppy seconds. Basically, don't take the sloppy seconds of the top team. Bring through your own driver. I think having an experienced driver, yes, but then having a young driver from your own academy system who's done well and is proven in the junior formulas is better for you, because you can bring through, it shows that your system is working. If you do eventually sell them on, in essence, or they're bought out of their contract by a top team, it's a good business decision. And also, if you do eventually create a good car, then you've got a driver there, you've got a star driver that is invested in your own team. So, seems like I need to retake 8th grade English. No more recycling drivers, basically, Drew. Yes, that's basically it, yeah. Oh, science has just gone quicker again there. 17.334, and interestingly, that is on an 11-lap old set of tyres. Yuki Tsunoda went up to P3, so he put the engine mode, he turned the engine mode up slightly there. Yuki's annoyed to be down 5-1 due to DNF, DNS, and 3 strat losses. Yeah, Yuki this season, and Daniel Ricciardo themselves, actually, VCarb have been shocking with their strategy calls this season. There's been a number of times where both of them could have scored points, and they didn't, because VCarb just decided to throw a Hail Mary out there and do a 2-stop, which is just never the right decision, or vice versa. They've decided to do a 1-stop. It's just been horrendous for them. Sainz done so well for Ferrari. It's a mistake putting Lewis. I don't agree. I think it is harsh to get rid of Sainz, but you've got to remember who's coming in. It's Lewis Hamilton. And also the commercially viable... I mean, how much money are they going to make from Lewis Hamilton? That's like when PSG signed Lionel Messi. The amount of money they made from merch sales and so forth, and sponsorships from just signing Lionel Messi, from what they actually spent on his contract, is the same as what will happen with Ferrari and Lewis. That's the pulling power that he has. Plus, he is still good. He is still a quick driver, as we've shown this year. Lewis is loved around the world. Yes, exactly. He's one of the few names in sports as an actual genre where people know who he is and they don't follow F1. Like Michael Jordan, LeBron James, Tiger Woods, Lionel Messi, Cristiano Ronaldo. These are names, Roger Federer, Rafa Nadal. These are names, sports names, that people don't even follow the sport, but they know who they are because of how big they are. No one's bigger than the sport, but because of the name and because of the business, because of how successful they are in their sport, they big brands push them, and people that don't even follow the sport know who they are, and Lewis is one of those. Michael Schumacher was one. Yeah, exactly. Max Verstappen is another one. He is becoming another one as well. Lots of people know who Max is because of how big of a name he is. You can't deny that. Has anyone ever £200 deposit for... Ferrari gear is actually nice. I really like their hoodie, but it's like, yeah, £180. And I'm like, I'm not spending £180 on a hoodie. No one is probably going to get baby sick on it, you know? Everyone must have their engines turned down. Yeah. I mean, we're going to see some lap times get quicker as the fuel drops off. So Alex Albon's out there on a set of hards now. So let's see how Alex Albon and Max is on a brand new set of softs. Let's keep an eye on Max, shall we? He's on his out lap at the moment, and we'll see we'll see how he gets on. Of course, on a used engine as well. Schumi won championships for Ferrari. That's the difference. Yeah, of course. Yeah, but Mercedes is also a world-renowned brand. It's not like Mercedes are a small brand that no one's heard of. Like, they are massive across the world. So, yeah, the fact Lewis did that for Mercedes is why he's known as well. Your favourite driver is Ayrton Senna. I was too young to witness Ayrton. So, I can't really comment on him being... I mean, obviously he was a good driver and arguably one of the greats, but I never watched him. I wasn't alive to see him, really. I was too young as well. I was born in 91, so... One of the worst was when Daniel was on mediums and they pitted him lap 8 just after he got into clean air making progress. Yeah, there's been some very, very bizarre decisions with VCarb. Very, very bizarre decisions. It's like they've let the intern or the work experience lad make the decision for the week. Very, very bizarre. As Alex Albon goes fastest in the middle sector on a brand new set of tyres at this state. So, of the track evolution. And third fastest for Albon, 17.5. Max Verstappen is, where did he set? He sets the purple middle sector as well. So, top of the timing sheets there. 2 and a bit temps faster than that of Alex Albon, as you would expect of Max in the Red Bull, even with a used engine. So let's see how he gets on. Lots of more rubber laid down now, as we actually are seeing drivers late in the day come onto a set of soft compound tyres. As Max, the first time we have seen a driver go quicker than last year's pole position, a 17.1, and Max Verstappen has just done a 17.0. So let's see if these drivers are now turning the engine modes up slightly for these quali runs as we head with 15 minutes remaining of this session. So Lando Norris is on a brand new set, as is Oscar Piastri, as is Hamilton, Russell. No doubt we may see Sainz and Leclerc come out too. But let's keep an eye on Norris. Is he going to go purple in the first sector? No. That belongs to the 2 Ferraris still. We're in the 17.3s. But let's see how pacey Norris is in the middle sector. Perez up into 5th on a set of used tyres. So heading through the S's, which is where we saw George Russell lose it yesterday, and Alex Albon, who's actually heading through there now. He's going to make it through the S's, though, before Lando Norris catches him. After Mika's retirement, my favourite was Michael. You're also 91. Also, great year. Great year. Fastest in the second sector from Lando Norris at 29.44. So a tenth and a bit faster than Max Verstappen in the middle sector there. Through turn 19. All about the rear traction. As he heads across the line and go, wow, half a second quicker. Lando Norris fastest in the... but Lewis Hamilton has just gone second fastest in the first sector out of anyone there. But Oscar Piastri, third fastest. So we are starting to see improvements here now with drivers maybe starting to turn up their engine modes. Or maybe they've just taken a lot of fuel out of the car to do some proper quali runs here. George Russell is going a bit slower. He wasn't quick in the first sector, and the second sector isn't too great either. Oscar Piastri's gone second fastest in the second sector. Lewis Hamilton only goes 5th fastest in the second sector, so he's had a wobble somewhere, Lewis Hamilton, in that middle sector. He's lost 4 temps on Oscar Piastri, so maybe he had to back out somewhere as Oscar Piastri goes fastest ahead of his teammate. There you go, 2 McLaren, 16.492, 16.55 for Lando Norris and Lewis Hamilton with that mistake in the second sector, which then no doubt carries through to the last sector, is why he's 5.5 tenths off of. Just watching Lewis Hamilton's on board here, actually. No, it's George Russell, sorry. I wonder if we'll get... no doubt he's had a wobble somewhere, Lewis, in the middle sector, because that's no doubt a mistake there. What do I think you should get last F1 seat for next year? As a Finn, I would like to see Bottas. I think the last seat, as we mentioned, I think you should go to Zane Maloney. I think you should go to a youngster in their academy system, and I think Zane Maloney is best positioned for that. So, thank you everyone for tuning in, by the way. 1,700 of you here for this FP3 session. If you could hit that like button, let's get this to... If we could get this to 1,000 likes, that'd be great. Over 1,700 of you in here. Surely there's 800 of you in... Less than 800 of you in here who haven't hit that like button. Well, look at Bottas. He's 9th, actually. Oh, yeah, Bottas is 9th. It's not too bad. It's not too bad. Are the Ferraris coming out on a brand new set? No, hang on, here we go. Charles Leclerc. Ooh, here we go. Charles Leclerc's on a brand new set. Let's see how he gets on. Let's see how he gets on. But yeah, both, interestingly, both Mercedes were considerably slow in the second sector. Considerably slow in the second sector. So I wonder if that's setup change issue or whether that was just driver issue that they both had there. We'll see. We'll see. Hey, Lumpy, thank you for becoming a member. Much appreciated, buddy. Welcome to the pit crew. Welcome to the pit crew. Hakkinen was champ in 98 and 99. Yeah, I loved watching Mika Hakkinen. Oh, unbelievable driver. He's my flying Finn. Thank you guys for hitting the like button. Lando Norris pole position, Peter. We'll see. We will see. Oh, hang on. Just watching. Oh, yeah. Lewis Hamilton had the car's grounded out. So they're running the car very low still. And they're losing time over the curb. So maybe just lifted out a throttle there to settle the car and not have an issue like George Russell had yesterday where he spun it into the barrier. What do they do with these cars after each session? Do they keep one of them and sell the other? Not quite, not quite. I wonder if Norris can still close the gap in the championship. We'll see, Levy. Yeah, we will see. Right, Charles Leclerc is about to start a proper qualifying lap, guys. Let's see if they can respond to the lap time set by Piastri and Norris. Of course, we still don't know what battery modes are being used, engine modes and fuel load. So a lot of this is still kind of speculation, but it's still fun to look at nonetheless. Lewis Hamilton went. That was actually a decent lap. They are fucking quick in regards to the response of Oscar Piastri's lap. So, yeah, the Mercedes are losing time in the middle sector, it seems. So, we'll see how they get on. But Charles Leclerc, can he go purple in the first sector? No. He's actually only full fastest, but you're talking hundredths of a second to his teammate, who is currently fastest in the first sector, who is also not that far behind him, heading through turn 3 now. I think only Mika H and Alonso beat Schumacher. What, during their time? Wow, Sainz is really hooked up in that first sector, guys. Wow, fastest again in the first sector at 27.261. Arguably a very unlucky driver last weekend, Carlos Sainz. He could have ended up easily winning that race as well. But of course, he was not in the right position compared to his teammates who got through to obviously got through to P1. Charles Leclerc around the last corner, a bit slower in the middle sector compared to the McLarens, and it shows. It shows there, as that was a considerably slower last sector there for Charles Leclerc. Ferrari also struggling a little bit in the middle sector. They're losing time, 29.75, considering the McLarens are 3 tenths to 2 tenths quicker than the rest of the field in that middle sector on these laps that they've done. And it shows. It shows. So that's really the difference at the moment, guys. Let me show you the sectors so that you can see what I'm talking about here. And look at that. You can see that Norris and Piastri are at the top of the standings in regards to the second and third sector. And look at that difference. to 3 temps basically. Lando Norris over the likes of 4 temps over Hamilton and George Russell, 3 temps over Leclerc and Sainz, and then in the last sector they've also got a couple of extra temps there as well. So that's really where the McLaren seems to be strong in FP3. Of course, we still don't know what engine modes they're running and how much they're pushing the cars through that middle sector at the moment, but definitely maybe something that the McLaren have unlocked there, because they're pretty much on pace in the first sector, aren't they? Now they've got Toyota F1 back in. Yeah, thoughts on the deal? It's an interesting deal, Toyota. Maybe it's them just dipping their toe back into F1, of course, with the technical partnership. So they're going to be lending their technical, what's the right word? Analysis and, yeah, their technical arm, so engineers and so forth. Maybe, yeah, it's Toyota maybe eventually taking over Haas. You never know. I can't imagine Haas will stay as Haas forever. So I think Gene Haas is maybe lining up eventually for that team to be bought out. Yeah, I'm still annoyed Daniel's out when nobody else in that caliber car got a P5 and 2 P4 qualies. Most of his bad weekends were out of his control. I don't know. I mean, yes and no. I still think he didn't really show enough, Daniel. That's the problem. He didn't show enough. And I think when it was level pegging, Yuki did have the better of him. So let's see what Perez can do. Yeah, is he on a brand new set yet? He's already done a lap, I think. He's already done a lap. Did he run into traffic? 17.7 is way off, even for Perez, to be fair. So maybe he ran into traffic on that lap. It was a very slow last sector, 21.213, which probably means he either made a mistake or there was traffic. I'm actually just waiting to watch the TV coverage. So who will win the Constructors' Championship? Well, this is the thing. I think if Ferrari continue on this, I think it's going to be quite close still between McLaren and Ferrari. I think we all thought that they had it kind of wrapped up, McLaren, but no. I mean, Ferrari are only 55 points behind, I think, which in Constructors is not a lot. Yeah, so Perez hit traffic in the last sector, guys, so that's why he had to back out. Hey, I'm just watching now. Sergio Perez through the last sector. Oh no, actually, Perez really locked up into the last sector, into the stadium section. So, it was an error. It was an error there for Sergio Perez heading into the stadium section. Not good from him. Constructors is going to the final lap of the final. Yeah, I think so. Yeah, final race of the final lap of the final lap of the final race of the season is what you meant to say, Wonk. Does Perez have the same package as Verstappen? Good question. I'm not sure if he does. I really don't know. I'm going to guess no, actually. I'm pretty sure I saw somewhere that he said, no, I don't have the same parts. So, will Alonso continue with Aston Martin now when Newey joins next year? Yes, he will. He's extended his contract. I think he's got 2 years still on his contract, Alonso. I think that's what he signed. Or is he on a year? I think he might be on a year +1. So he's on like a rolling yearly contract, I think. I think he'll stick around for 2026, definitely, to see or he'll be trying to at least. But if you are Lawrence Stroll, you don't want Fernando Alonso alongside your son. Because let's be honest, Lawrence Stroll isn't owning the Aston Martin team to ensure that Alonso is a world champion again. No, he's doing that to ensure that his son is world champion. Whatever you may think of Lance Stroll, that's what him as a parent, as a father, that's what he's trying to do. And you do not want a teammate who can beat your son. You want like a younger driver, maybe. I reckon they might go for a younger driver in their system to try and put alongside Lance Stroll for 2026 and hope that he's not as quick as Lance Stroll, so that Lance Stroll builds up confidence in beating his teammate week in, week out. Perez prefers a less pointy car, so that may have something to do with it. Yes, definitely, yeah. I feel like Verstappen was on a fast lap, but then backed off right when he got behind Perez, and now they both pitted. Why is that? Did you see on the TV coverage? I don't know. Maybe they just thought... I really don't know, to be fair. I mean, there's still a little bit of an unknown here. I mean, it is a little bit worrying. Not worrying, but it is a little bit noticeable that McLaren are that much quicker than the rest of the field in the middle sector. Because I don't think that would be due to power usage. I'm really not sure that if you had the engine modes turned down, that would have too much effect for a sector like turn 7, like through the middle sector. That's more so going to affect you, obviously, down through the first into the start of the second sector, down those straights. So yeah, I think that's primarily set up. But we'll see. Maybe they're still holding a bit back. We always know that they hold a bit back, of course, for quali. So, as Max is reporting, this doesn't work. There's no grip, front and rear. So Max not happy with the position of or the setup of his car at the moment. Interesting. Am I going to be doing quali and race live stream? Of course I am. You reckon? Of course I am. Blown diffuser in the hairdryer. Stewards dare not face Max again. Stroll was useless to Daddy, waste of a seat. Yeah, I mean, he is the most fortunate driver in F1 history, isn't he, guys? Let's be honest. Like, in history, before, there has never been a driver who has had a whole team bought for him. Oh, yellow. Why was there a yellow? Did someone just briefly go off there in turn 12? Was that maybe that was just Sergio Perez going off track to let Fernando Alonso through? I think that was quite a premature yellow flag there. Max car will suddenly become faster getting Q3 in race. You know, Grace, you know. Max does like to complain, and then he pulls out like a banger of a time, and you're like, why was he even complaining for in the first place? But F1 drivers, they're always complaining. The car's never good enough. It's never fully balanced. You say they don't look too hot on the straights. They were only like a tenth. I mean, Oscar Piastri was still less than a tenth behind Carlos Sainz down the main straight, and Norris was, Norris a little bit slower down the main straight, but we'll see. If we're not going forward tap mode, racing simulation. What's my opinion on Esteban Ocon teaming up with a rookie next year in a Haas? Do I think there'll be crashes among them, or do I think Esteban can finally improve his temper? I think it could get very heated. I think if Ollie Behrman really takes it to Esteban, I think we'll see Esti Besti tangle with his teammate a few times, as we've seen throughout the duration of his F1 career. So yeah, that's an interesting dynamic to keep an eye out on next year, really. That's kind of a subplot to the main plot of 2025, I think. Apologies, guys. I got that incorrect, but Perez actually went... but that yellow flag that was briefly thrown there was for Perez going off track at turn 12. Keeps locking up. So something not quite great with the balance of that Red Bull car for Sergio Perez into the stadium section. So, hey, Juan, you're watching from Puerto Rico. You don't have any F1 tracks here. I hope you can help with that. I wish I was that influential, one. You're overestimating the power that I have. Do I show team radio during the race? As mentioned previously earlier, Justice, no, I don't really. It moves too quickly, for one, and the AI translation still isn't quite good enough, really, to really interpret what they're saying. And I don't want to clutter the screen, or any more than what we currently have right now. I think everything that we've got going on here is more than enough, and of course I do properly commentate as well. I don't just discuss how we are now, and I do also have Sky TV coverage alongside me, so that I can relay any of that kind of important team radio to you. Do I watch El Clasico? I don't actually. I keep a little bit of an eye on it. But there we go, guys. That is it. FP3 is over and done with. Piastri P1, Norris P2, Carlos Sainz P3, Verstappen P4 with that old power unit they've transferred to. Lewis Hamilton P5, Leclerc P6, Tsunoda 7th, Russell 8th, Magnussen 9th, Lawson 10th, Albon 11th, Bottas 12th, Colapinto 13th, Perez 14th. Ooh. Alonso 15th, Hulkenberg 16th, Stroll 17th, Ocon 18th, Zhou 19th, and Pierre Gasly in 20th. And that is it for this running. No doubt that order is going to shift for qualifying, which will be happening in, how many hours' time? 2.5 hours time is when qualifying will get underway. Of course, we'll be live 15 minutes beforehand again, so turn your notifications on to be alerted. If you haven't subscribed already, please do. But yes, interesting there at the end that the McLarens were that much quicker in the middle sector. That's really interesting. Max Verstappen complaining about his setup, but the car feels very unbalanced, struggling for grip. Sergio Perez kind of indicating that also with a few lockups into the last sector. Lewis Hamilton reporting his lap time was actually pretty good, and they still didn't have a response to the lap set by Oscar Piastri. So yes, we'll see who's going to come out on pole position and what the lineup will be in a few hours' time. It's going to be a close one, I think, between McLaren and Ferrari. I think this is another damage limitation race for Verstappen. But, of course, we always know that Verstappen digs deep when it matters. But it all depends, really, on that old power unit. How much power does it have? And how much stress can they put into that unit? Of course, in arguably the most stressful race on these power units that they have throughout the duration of the season. You'll be waiting, Joel. Good man, good man. Thinking about going British GP next year. What's the best affordable stand? I don't know, Reese. I've never been. Affordable is, yeah. I'm not sure I'd call any grandstand seat for race day at Silverstone affordable anymore, unfortunately. Send me a, why am I saying send me? Don't send me anything. Hit the like button, guys. That's all I'm asking you to do, by the way. Hit the like button. Let's get this stream to over 500 likes. I asked for 1,000. Let's get 500 before the stream ends. You'll see me later. Wonk. Yeah, good. Good man. Good man. Max is sandbagging. I think so. Yeah, I think there is a bit of sandbagging with Max. They're no doubt saving the engine modes. Some of the teams probably are as well. So we'll see. We'll see. Do I think Lawson will outperform Tsunoda this season and next season? I think it'll be close. I think it will be close. I do highly rate Lawson. I do really highly rate him. He had a great performance last week that was not to take anything away from him, but he did have a brand new power unit, so there is that. Of course, dragging an RB car from the back of the grid to the points anyway is special, and getting most of it done out on track as well is very, very good drive from Lawson, but it was assisted by a new power unit. So yeah, we'll see. We'll see. I think he did slightly have the better of Yuki last year. But I think Yuki really is just kind of... I don't think he'll ever get an opportunity in that proper Red Bull seat, which is a shame. They don't really see him as a Red Bull driver. He's a Honda driver. So I think next year is more about just ensuring he stays on the grid, Yuki, and probably looking to get out of that Red Bull system. I think Honda are heading to Aston Martin. Maybe he moves there for 26. I don't know. F1 affordable. Never heard of it. Exactly. Yep, see you a bit later, Marianne. How was Kimi's FP1? He was okay. He didn't crash. Manav, he just did some long runs on the hard tyre, so nothing really to shout out about. I think they maybe probably purposely ensured he was kept out of the headlines this time around, and he didn't do any running on the soft tyre. He was just kept on the hard. Which is what he needed, really. Is what he needed. Imagine thinking Red Bull would promote Yuki. At this point, what else does he have to prove? Yeah, if he's not promoted now, when would he? He's not, is he? So, what time is qualifying and am I commentating? I will be, Scoobs. Yes, qualifying is on at 10 PM UK time. So that is just under 2.5 hours wherever you are in the world, is when qualifying will get underway. We'll be live 15 minutes before qualifying starts, so turn your notifications on to be alerted of when I'm going live, and ensure you've got your YouTube notifications turned on as well. Do I think Kimi Antonelli is ready? Yeah, probably. Yeah, probably. I mean, if you look at him, if you're... I don't think... I mean, age, yes, is a factor. But I think he's definitely quick. And I think if you wait any more time... I mean, F2 isn't the be-all and end-all. This is the thing. And I think if you're better off bringing him into F1 sooner rather than later so that he gets the experience under his belt. And look, like in 3 years' time, like Ollie Behrman is an example as well. So Ollie Behrman's a similar situation. He's heading to Haas. He's also 18. If Ollie Behrman, as an example, is in F1 in that Haas seat for the next 3 years and waits until Lewis retires, he's still only going to be 21, and then he's going to be in the top seat at Ferrari. Kimi Antonelli, get him in the seat now and mould him. Especially when Mercedes know in this regulation era that they don't really have a championship winning car. It's better to get him in the team now, get used to the F1 furore, the saga, the media, getting used to everything so that when they do have a championship winning car, he's ready. He's not being brought in fresh, you know? So, what's my real name? Scott. Daniel averaged like 3 places higher in the last 10 races, did he? I don't think Kimi is ready. I think he needs 1 more year. I don't know. I think they've clearly put a lot of time and effort into his development. He's done a lot of tests away from the circuit. They're happy with his lap times that he's been setting. And I think if you look at how he's gone racing in F2 as well, he's improved as the year's gone on. I think there's been an element of the reason why him and Ollie Behrman didn't hit the ground running this year is because they've got brand new cars, haven't they, in F2. And Prima and some of the other teams that are normally at the front struggled to kind of get up to grips with the understanding of this new car, and now they kind of have, and we've seen Antonelli put in some really good performances and actually get lots of moves done, impressive moves done out on circuit. So Mercedes are happy with that, and they're thinking with Lewis moving, I think if Lewis maybe was staying, I think they would keep Kimi Antonelli maybe for another year. I think that was probably the plan. Was to keep Kimi Antonelli in F2 for maybe another year and then bring him in for maybe the new regs. But hence why they offered Lewis only a 1+1 year deal. And that's where Lewis wasn't happy. He wanted a 2+1. So that was one of the reasons why he decided to leave and go to Ferrari, because they wanted to, I think they had this plan of bringing Kimi through at latest in 2026. So just under 2.5 hours, right, mate? At what point does the feeder series driver just stop traditional schooling? No, Antonelli still goes. I think once you leave, I think most schools go up to 16 and then you go into like higher education from 17 to 18 years old. Yeah, there's no way Kimi's in higher education now. Like he's got his full probably school qualification that he requires, and the higher education is, you don't always necessarily need, do you? That's like college and so forth in most countries. Do I think the new recruits are more about 26 than 25? Probably, yes. I think next year is probably a year for most of these youngsters to get up to speed. But I think also Colapinto coming in, Lawson last year as well. We've seen Ollie Behrman step in a couple of times this season. They've proven, they've done wonders for the youngsters who are just waiting in the wings, because they've proven that they can step in and do a job, especially in like a top seat as well. I mean, Ollie Behrman's performance in Saudi was brilliant because he stepped into a top car, but he got up to pace in very quickly, finished 7th place, I think it was, ahead of Lewis Hamilton. Of course, the Mercedes was struggling, but still, he'd done that regardless. And Lawson's did the same last year. Colapinto, of course, is the biggest example. And they've proven that these youngsters are they're good enough. They're worth taking a shot on now and promoting through, rather than taking the sloppy seconds of the top teams, which is why I think Perez will be out of a seat, and that's why Sainz is actually probably really fortunate, and Alex Albon as well, that Sainz signed when he did. Albon's maybe fortunate as well that Colapinto didn't come in earlier on in the season, because it could be that Alex Albon maybe might have been replaced, and for Carlos Sainz, if Colapinto did this from the start of the season, if he was put in at the start of the season, you know. So, and I think it's about time. Everyone needs to freshen up. How did I come up with the name Stuffeyy? It's genius thinking. So S is my first initial, and Tuffy is my last name. Stuffeyy. Just technically my name. Who do I think will be the biggest surprise to finish in quali? I think we're going to see a surprise from... one of the RB cars. They were strong here last season. Daniel Ricciardo qualified 4th. I think we might see that from Yuki or from Liam Lawson. I think so. It's midnight in India, Arnold. Go have a power nap. Go have a power nap now, and then you can come back for qualifying. You'll be nice and refreshed. Suzanne Stuffey. Any of the young drivers have raced this year actually in the F2 title fight? No. So Colapinto wasn't, Ollie Behrman isn't, neither is Antonelli isn't either. Bortoletto is the driver. He's a McLaren junior driver. He is the name that's being thrown about for the second Sauber seat, which I don't see happening. I just don't see it happening because I think maybe McLaren might want it to happen because it means that they've got another driver who's basically as highly rated as Oscar Piastri. Bortoletto is going for back-to-back F3 and F2 championships. So they could be in a position, McLaren, where they've got someone like Oscar Piastri as their reserve driver and, of course, wants to get on the grid. And they've got their team secured at the moment with Oscar and Norris. So Bortoletto will be looking to be on the grid at some point, sooner rather than later. But if he wins the F2 Championship, he won't be able to be on the grid for next year anyway. But yeah, I don't see Stake buying out Bortoletto's contract at McLaren. It would probably be a loan move. But I don't see why you'd go outside of your driver academy when you've got someone like Zane Maloney who's doing really well. So, do I play GT7? No. I'm PC, so I play iRacing predominantly. Do I think Max will cook in qualifying or the race? I think he's on the back foot this weekend now with that engine change. I really do. I think for him, a top 5 would be amazing. I think his fight will probably be with the Mercedes to try and secure top 5. And it will probably be damage limitation for Max this weekend. And he'll be hoping that he doesn't have an engine issue that ensures that he loses a considerable amount of points to Lando. Like, he can... End of the day, Lando needs to make up an average of 11.6, 12 points per race weekend between now and the end of the season. If Max loses less than that to Lando this week, that's job done for him. That is job done. It's all about the championship now for Max. Doesn't care about race wins. Well, of course he still does, but you know what I mean. So, I guess Hulkenberg can finish in the top 10. Hulkenberg can always finish in the top 10. Always puts in a good Q3, doesn't he? And that Haas does look a bit pacey at the moment. How much time do you need to wait till quali? A couple of hours, basically. Just over a couple. I'll be live again in a couple of hours' time, guys. Do I think Jamaica would ever hold a Grand Prix anytime in the next 15 years? I would probably say no. 15 years is a long time, though. But I would say at this moment in time, probably no. I think they're looking more so to head to South Africa. They want to have a Grand Prix on every continent, basically, in the world, which Africa's the only continent that we don't have one. Maybe. I mean, 15 years is a very long time. So, yeah, we'll see. I mean, is there even a track in Jamaica? I don't know if there is. Is there? Is there a suitable circuit? Should you bet on Piastri or Norris to win this race? Probably Norris. Because I think there would be team orders implied. What is the opinion about Indian GP? The Indian GP was good, but I think in the end, I think there was some... Was it funding or so forth? There was funding. I think the support really dropped or something. I don't think there was enough support and attendance that happened at the Indian Grand Prix, which is why it kind of got dropped from the calendar, I think. Could be wrong there, but I think it was definitely due to monetary reasons, which is why they moved away from the circuit. And I think actually the circuit now is sinking because it wasn't built on like a marshland. So I think the circuit's actually sinking. The USA gets free races. Yeah, the USA gets free races because it is a bit. It's a country, but it's a continent. Let's be honest, isn't it? Like, it's massive. Like, you look how many races Europe has. Really, the US should kind of have. I think 3 is the right amount. What is my job? My main job is I'm a quantity surveyor in construction. I would love this to be my main job one day. So hopefully in the future. So as I said, every single subscriber really helps me bring me closer to making this a full-time job, because while of course subscribers don't correlate to views, to direct views on YouTube, it is another indication or another metric to entice sponsors, and that's where you get that's where you're able to make your money as a creator primarily. Ad revenue is only a small amount at the end of the day. No creator survives purely off of ad revenue. It's all kind of attracting sponsors and so forth. Government had entertainment taxes on the Indian circuit rather than considering F1 as a sport, so more tax. Is that why? I mean, I knew it was financial reasons, but yeah, that's a real shame, isn't it, really? It is a real shame. We need one from the Caribbean, and then we'd have a race in every part of the world. Jamaica night race could work, or Barbados, Trinidad. It wouldn't surprise me if in the future we saw a racing in the Caribbean. I mean, I think we are heading to 25 races on the calendar, which this. I think we will get to the point where we have 26 races. There's 52 weeks in a year, and I think we're going to end up with 26 races throughout the duration of the year. So half of the year is taken up with F1. I think that's what we're going to head to. Not sure I agree with that. I think that's too many. I think we've already got too many. I think 20 is a nice sweet spot. Like 10 either side of the summer break. But money talks at the end of the day. Money talks. If there's a demand, they're going to want it, aren't they? They're going to try and push it. So, yes, subscribers help push my content. So that's why I ask for likes as well. That helps push the channel to more viewers and so forth. So it really does help, like the algorithm and so forth. We need to get me grid-side. Do you know what? Like I've said this before. I've never attended a GP, a Grand Prix before. I'd love to. I'm not so fussed about attending a race. I'd like to go on the Friday practice so that I can just see the cars go around, like see the pace of these F1 cars and be up close to them. But yeah, if I'm grid-side, happy days. If I'm not, like I enjoy watching F1 like this and bringing this content to you guys. So I really enjoy these streams. I really do look forward to them. When it's race week and I'm starting my week in the office on a Monday, I'm already looking forward to the weekend of going, yes, I've got a race to commentate on and do these watch-along streams with you all. So more than 20 would be physically demanding for the drivers. FAA should think about it. Yeah. I mean, look, the fact of it, we have these triple headers. I mean, it's kind of good as a race fan. It's great because we've got 3 weekends in a row where we've got F1, but it's really taxing on the teams. Logistically, it's really taxing as well, and there's that element to take into consideration. Like it's not. This isn't football. This isn't soccer, where it's a case of just a squad of 24 players getting on a plane and then heading to the next game or whatever, next location to then play a 90-minute football match. This is F1. Like it's a massive operation to move these parts around, set up all these motorhomes and stuff like that, and yeah, they're working around the clock, aren't they? So it's not like they're doing just a standard like 9 to 5, an 8-hour shift. They're doing longer than that sometimes, especially if there's a crash and they need to repair the car. Practice quality are the best days to attend. Yeah, I agree, Blue. Yeah. But there we go, guys. That is Argentina Grand Prix possibly coming back. Yeah, if Colapinto ends up back on the calendar, I think we'll lose Mexico once we lose Sergio Perez. I really do. I think this circuit, it's a party atmosphere, but the majority of people turn up for Sergio Perez. And once he leaves, I think they'll probably see a drop-off in attendance. Similar to like Zandvoort as well. I think if you saw Max retire, I think you see a drop-off in attendance there as well. And both of those circuits aren't overly great for racing. I really don't expect a great race here tomorrow. My bar is very low for an interesting race tomorrow. I'm just hoping that there's some element of strategy. We get some safety cars to really spice things up. Otherwise, it could be a bit boring. But yeah, there we go, guys. That is it. I'm going to go now. I have some dinner. I'm going to have a break, catch up with the missus and the little one. And yeah, we will see you in a couple of hours' time. I'm going to go set the stream up now so you can go wait over there. Big thank you for helping reach this stream, this channel to over 31,000 subs. And yeah, we'll see you soon for qualifying for what no doubt is going to be a really close one, as it has been for pretty much the majority of this season. Will it be McLaren or will it be Ferrari on pole position? Or will we see an unlikely Max Verstappen, yes, unlikely Max Verstappen on pole position or at the front because he has an old power unit? Or will Mercedes turn up and be very quick? We have no idea what Mercedes is going to turn up session by session. So yes, see you in a few hours, guys. Thanks as always. Bye.